either here.
And we are off. Starting out with Link's uncle saying that he feels like we've done this before. Well, that's okay. We can do it over and over because every game of Randomizer is completely different. Finding just 10 arrows in the early chest.
So as we approach Uncle here, what do we think we're going to see from the arms dealer tonight?
Uncle being the new arms dealer, you know, I'm always partial to the bow. That's one of those items that always shows up late. It's nice to get. However, it looks like it's going to be the Cane of Samaria. So that's a very interesting item to start with, and they get a full magic refill at the same time.
Well, fortunately, it's very versatile, and with the sword being right in the next chest, they're not going to be limited it for too long here.
Oh man, that's a really nice find. I've seen streams where it's been over an hour before they get their first sword, and even though these are very skilled runners, you know, having what would be considered the normal weapon is a really good thing to start out with. So for those who aren't aware, Link to the Past Randomizer is a brand new way to play this classic game. What they've done is figured out a way to take a ROM of the game and take every single item that you find and completely randomize it. So, you know, where are things going to be? We have no idea. Every single time they play is completely different. So take all the knowledge you have about what is where and how to route this game and pretty much throw it out the window. Ovok finding just 20 rupees in the first chest. However, it's a good thing to find early because they will need about 70 rupees by the time they go to Kakariko Village.
One of the early things you might be seeing here as well is that some of the players will be killing extra enemies along the way, searching for at least one bomb to be able to open up the escape 3 chests there. Getting up that one bomb there will free them from having to come back later on, so we'll see what extra kills they might take along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely don't want to have to come back there, especially since, you know, it could have the item required to get in there, which is the power glove. So, and for the most part, this game is going to be a fairly standard run at the beginning, especially since they found a sword so early.
They're just blessed to have one of the key items, Cane of Samaria, depending on what dungeons will be required later on, or potentially fun side quests to unlock further items.
All right, Ovok opening Zelda's chest and just getting a 10 arrow upgrade, so no real progression just yet, but we still have quite a few things to come. And also, it looks like Withhelde was able to pick up a bomb drop, so she's going to be able to easily get into that side room. Another unique feature you may notice in this version of Randomizer is the players actually get to choose what color their heart containers appear on the HUD. It can be either red, yellow, green, or blue based on their preference, and I think that's designed for people who might have trouble seeing certain color combinations.
I know personally I'm a fan of the classic red heart scenario that ovokjam's got going on. You got a personal favorite?
You know, I started out with just the red, but I've started to really enjoy the blue, probably because it's my favorite color, and it does contrast really nicely against the grass in the overworld.
Players now will be heading towards the back half escape, the into the sewers portion. For this, they'll receive a free light cone. After this dungeon here, they won't be able to get the free light cone. They'll need to find the lamp, but this will allow the players to progress and complete escape without any issues.
Absolutely, although with the level of skill that we've seen, it is entirely possible that players can complete this game without the lamp if they know those dark rooms really well. However, the logic of the game will never require that. And Ovok heading towards in the sewers, and only a few screens away from that room with the three chests, and still not finding a bomb, so he's going to be killing some snakes and rats to try to find that.
100 rupees there will set him up nicely for Kakariko Village, but still lacking those bombs. Looks like we're gonna see shortly from Withhelde what she's going to find in those 3 chests, but it looks like Ovok is not having much luck finding those bombs.
Absolutely. So we're about to see whether this is going to be him missing something or not. We got the blue mail, the Master Sword, and a full heart container. Oh my goodness. Oh, and Ovok gets an 8-bomb drop from one of the enemies. So saved it by the bell right there, and he's going to be able to pick up those items as well.
Quite an awesome find. Their swords upgraded, but then there's also the prevailing thought, is this going to be an Aghanim seed now with the fact that we have the Master Sword already?
Yeah, that's a really good point. By the logic, all we would need from this point on is to find the lamp in order for Aghanim to be possibly available by the logic. And both players, Withhelde a little bit ahead right now, heading out of the sanctuary and heading north. It'll be interesting to see if she chooses to see what the Lumberjack Cave has for us today. And she's going to go ahead and head in there. And, oh, the Power Glove is on the ledge. That means Aghanim is required today.
Oh, boy. So knowing that information there, is it better for the runners to make a beeline as fast as possible to Aghanim, or still follow the seed logic and follow the path and get there when it's convenient?
I would say it depends on, with the Moon Pearl at the Mushroom location, so we know where 2 of the 3 items required for Dark World access is. I would say it would definitely depend on the skill level of the player. Without the lamp, some of those dark rooms in Aghanim's Tower can be a little bit tricky. However, with the Power Glove so early in the game, it's very likely that we're going to find the lamp pretty soon, unless there's another lift upgrade.
Runners now will be coming up to Kakariko Village, which is a wealth of chests and potential items for them to find. So we'll see what items will they be getting out of here, and that'll determine where we go from here.
Absolutely. It's also worth noting that even if they do beat Aghanim, right now they don't have the Pegasus boots, so they wouldn't be able to get the Power Glove right now anyways. And Withhelde checking out the well, not finding too much so far. Meanwhile, Ovok is going through the Blind's Hut in Thieves Town, or rather Kakariko Village, finding the Ether Medallion. We don't know yet if that medallion is going to be required. And now it looks like they're probably just going to be switching places. Besides that Ether Medallion, not a whole lot in Kakariko Village just yet. However, there are still a few more chests to check, and then they can head south for a couple more things to check.
So when you're going through Kakariko Village, what are some of the key items you're hoping to find to open up the world to you?
Well, I really like to find the flute somewhere in Kakariko because that, you're already there, you can easily activate it. Finding the Pegasus boots, even though it's not always a required item, is really nice just because it speeds up the gameplay so much. But for sure, things that are in the mine that are always required, the rods potentially, the hook shot, the bow, any of those key items that can kind of give you some kind of breadcrumb as to where you need to go next. And ovokjam and Withhelde both finding 300 rupees in the chicken hut. They're basically doing a high five right now. They've kind of synchronized back together again.
With this, both runners are going to be almost ready for to see Zora and see what 500 rupees we'll get for them.
Right, and with the Moon Pearl, they'll be able to do the fake flipper and also include the 2 chests in the Waterfall Ferry, which can be quite a bit of a time saving. And just the bloomerang on the shelf at the library, so probably not going to be a place they come back to. However, they still know that they're going to need those Pegasus boots in order to get the lift upgrade in the Lumberjack Cave, and just a 5-bomb upgrade at the race game. So time to nope out, and I'm guessing right now we're going to be heading to the south part of Light Hyrule.
Looks like Ovok's heading straight toward Mini Moldorm Cave, skipping past the Light World Swamp area.
Yeah, that's a route that I haven't seen before, completely ignoring the dam and heading for the Mini Moldorm Cave. Of course, it is a more item-heavy area. Possible he's trying to look for early boots so he can get that lift upgrade. Meanwhile, Withhelde doing the more traditional route and checking the dam. And Ovok finding the single arrow, piece of heart, a full heart container, another piece of heart, and the flippers!
Ooh, the flippers.
So now we don't even need to do a fake flipper. And Withhelde about to check out what is the sunken item today.
The fire rod. Wow. It's a good rod to find very early.
Absolutely. Not only is it a powerful weapon, but almost always required for at least one palace.
Looks like Ovok is also skipping past Ice Rod Cave, and that could be a potential area that lies out there for a while, whether or not you take that risk to skip that chest.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you don't want to go to it later, but at the same time, it is, a ways out of the way. Meanwhile, checking out the hobo and getting another 50 rupees. So now he's definitely in the range for being able to visit Zora. And I'm guessing Withhelde is going to be in the same boat not too long from now.
And yeah, coming up, let's see what's going on in the waterfall chests here and lead up right up into Zora from there.
Yep. And of course, since he didn't have to fake flipper, he's going to be able to immediately check the Zora ledge and find Das Boot in the waterfall cave. So this just turned from a slow walk into a speed run, and that's what we're here for today.
With that, that's one item less needed for that lumberjack tree. Now we just got to find that lamp.
And just 20 bucks on the Zora ledge, so we're still looking for that lamp. Withhelde, still following the more traditional route, checking out Ice Rod Cave, and we'll see what's in there, which Ovok has not checked yet.
And just 20 rupees there, so Ice Rod Cave paid out, but not in the way that was probably being looked for.
And Zora just giving a 5-bomb upgrade for 500 rupees, so not exactly a lot of value from him today. And it looks like Withhelde is going to be doing her own venture up to Zora's domain right now. Novak opening the chest in the Bonk Rocks and finding the red mail. So now that he is extremely well protected, this hasn't been a super healthy seed just yet, but having both armor upgrades this early in the game is really, really nice. Meanwhile, Withhelde finding her boots, so she's going to be able to start dashing around a lot faster.
Looks like Ovok's going to be making his way over to Eastern Palace now. Check out the 3 chests that are at Shahashala and potentially dive into Eastern Palace.
Yeah, my personal favorite is a shish kebab for him.
Interesting yet that we haven't seen a map check from either player, so we don't know what Eastern Palace holds yet.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're going to probably see that fairly soon. You know, both players have been focusing so much on the overworld, they probably just don't see any purpose checking just yet. Although, yes, I agree with you. I am kind of surprised that we've waited this long, but without seeing one. And
there's the lamp.
Having the lamp. And the mirror! Wow, okay. So, Shish Kebab having quite a bit of value in his back room today.
We're all set to go see Aga and take that nice little detour that every runner loves to make.
And it looks like that's exactly what Ovok is doing. He'll be able to take care of Aghanim and then immediately use those boots for a couple items in the Dark World and head back and get his Power Glove and continue on with the game. Now this brings up an interesting thing though. You know, right now it appears that Ovok is ahead, but realistically, Withhelde has checked a couple extra items. Most importantly, finding that fire rod as the sunken item over by the dam. That's one of those locations typically done so early in the game. I hope he doesn't forget to go over there later.
Yeah, I could imagine Ovok was maybe trying to link it up with Gina's Cave maybe later on if the chest didn't pay out, but hopefully he won't forget.
And we just got a map check on Withhelde's side. It looks like all 3 Light World dungeons are crystals. Number 6 is in Eastern, Desert is number 2, and Hera is number 3. So I don't know about you, but I typically like it when all the Light World dungeons are crystals because, you know, all 3 of those dungeons are pretty quick and not too difficult to get through.
That leaves me with the potential hope that Turtle Rock, Ice Palace, and Misery Mire are pendants and not needed.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I really don't like seeing as a pendant is Thieves Town because that dungeon has so many items and is relatively easy to route and not too long. It is a really nice one to have to do no matter what.
And the fact that there's so little requirements to get to it, all you needed to do is have access to the Dark World and you're golden. It's such an easy check.
And if you have the hammer, you can actually full clear it. Meanwhile, Withhelde deciding to not visit Aghanim just yet and choosing to go into Eastern Palace and seeing what she can find there. First chest just having the compass. So Eastern Palace has 3 unique items in it, and that 2 of those items are available by the logic, no matter what. So this is definitely the potential for her to find something important. Meanwhile,
on
Ovok
Ovok's
making...
side.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say on Ovok's side, we're finally reaching the top of the tower here. Saying bye-bye to Zelda, and we'll see how many blue balls versus reflector balls that we will see.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about Agnem is in some ways, the second Agnem fight is actually easier and faster because you have more regular fireballs that you can reflect back and make it a faster fight.
Withhelde getting the big key, so that means she will be able to open up the big chest and cut the loop early where the traditional big key chest is.
And finding the red sword, so she's going to actually be a little better equipped heading through Agnem's tower when she chooses to do that. She's going to be able to do one more chest, which is opened by the logic because they have the lamp now. And she's going to check that vanilla big key, the vanilla big key chest. Meanwhile, Ovok spinning around in celebration as Agnem disappears, and we get our first dive into the Dark World.
₹300 on the pyramid. Looks like Ovok will be picking that up to be able to spend it wisely throughout the rest of the game here, potentially with the monkey coming up soon, or wherever else he may go.
Yeah, the monkey, that's 110 rupees, plus you have the digging game and the chess game over in Village of Outcasts, so it's definitely good to have some money, not to mention the ability to buy bottles of potion later on.
Now, if you were in the runner's position at this point, or right after Aga, would you dive into Palace of Darkness, or would you go right for those power gloves?
Well, here's the thing with the power gloves and the mirror and the lamp. It does mean that Tower of Hera is within the logic, so I would probably take the route of immediately going to Sanctuary. Going to the Lumberjack Cave, getting those power gloves, and then heading up Death Mountain. Right now, they have neither the hammer nor the bow, so Pod can be easily locked up for them. We do have a map check on Ovok's side. Swamp Palace is the green pendant, which can lead to a shish kebab item. Skull Woods is red. Turtle Rock is blue. And the other 5/6 crystal is in Thieves Town.
We'll shortly know if it's bow-locked, and the small key is there, so the dungeon is not bow-locked yet. So Ovok will be able to proceed into the front half. Yeah, let's try that again. Into the front half here, potentially making the way into the back half.
And Pod is one of those really interesting dungeons. Lots of keys in the front. All the goods are usually in the back. Oh, and finding the power glove in Pod. So now we know where both of the lift upgrades are. And of course, Pod being one of those dungeons that's really nice to route when you have the mirror, because you have to definitely take some additional steps and go out of the way a little more if you don't. Of course, it's always interesting when we see some kind of route divergence between the two runners. Withhelde now going through Agnem's Tower, but could have definitely done that earlier, but chose to go into Eastern. However, getting the red sword is definitely a nice thing to have. Meanwhile, Ovok is already in the Dark World and heading to Pod. It'll be interesting to see what Withhelde does once she beats Agnum and is able to get that power glove from the Lumberjack Cave.
We'll see if the rest of these chests here in Palace of Darkness here have any payout. A lot of keys so far, so that leaves about 3 accessible, pending the big key find.
And Ovok choosing not to check the chest, just down one screen. So that chest definitely could have been a small key, a big key, or an item. And the first item in the dark maze just being 5 rupees. And Ovok saying, nope, I'm done for now. Heading out and going in for Light World. And dipping into Eastern, so it looks like he's going to end up getting his red sword as well. Meanwhile, Withhelde going through Agnum's Tower, getting trolled a little bit by the guard on the bridge, but now safely upstairs and time to face off Agnum.
I'm still pretty interested to see where this this fire rod is going to come into play, whether or not when Ovok's going to go back and get it, what kind of advantage that may turn into for Withhelde, because I could see that being out there for quite a while with all the spots that would be open with the Titan's mids.
Absolutely. Ice Palace is required, but if he were to find the Bombos medallion, that would take care of that. So, and you know, both Skullwoods and Turtle Rock, the 2 dungeons that require the fire rod specifically, are pendants. So that's one of those things that's kind of in the back. That's going to be in the back of Withhelde's mind is, you know, the fact that they can defeat both of those dungeons. Is there going to be something important there?
Withhelde successfully taking down Agnum. She'll be checking the pyramid most definitely, but then we'll see where she goes from there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, on the rare occasion that I do have an Agnum required seed, I usually use this as an opportunity to check the catfish because there's really no other good time, and there aren't a lot of times where you're in this area of the map.
And with them have already checking Zora's area, there's not really much to partner it up with either.
And Withhelde heading into the light world, it looked like she took a moment to decide what she wanted to do next. And now saving and quitting. So it looks like she might be trying to start in the light world, and she's starting at Sanctuary, so I'm thinking we're going to get a Death Mountain check now. And as part of the Death Mountain check, if either of these runners finds the hammer or the hook shot, that's going to open up both the light and dark world portions of Eastern Death Mountain, which have a lot of items available for them.
Well, it looks like both runners here are going to be picking up their tree gloves at this point, so we got a little bit of a high five going on, but we'll see where they go.
And chat pointing out to me that Withhelde did not visit Pod, which means she has not gotten the first glove upgrade. So if they both go to Death Mountain, and if Death Mountain does contain one of the items needed to reach the east side, Ovok is actually going to have the advantage here, being able to get into the Dark World side of Eastern Death Mountain. But despite these differing routes, both of these runners now almost completely in sync, saving the old man, and we'll see what he gives them today for their trouble.
Just a little piece of love.
And there should be some love, after all, you know. He keeps on getting lost, and for some reason these guys keep rescuing him, so definitely nice to give a little love in return. And just 20 rupees on top of Spectacle Rock today, and Ovok checking out the inside of the cave, and just a little bit of love, so I'm guessing he's going to probably head on up to Tower of Hera.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the western side of Death Mountain here is paying much out here.
No, definitely not. And Ovok is heading into Tower of Hera, and we're probably, roughly 4 or 5 minutes away from getting our first crystal of the game, and it'll be somewhere around 35-minute mark.
Fortunately, the big key is here in the basement in the small room part, so the runners will be able to avoid going to the tile room for now.
Yeah, the tile room good for only, a way to get a break, to get a drink of water or something like that, put your feet up a little bit. Now, Tower of Hera has 2 unique items, so there's definitely, being 3 item locations upstairs, the odds are pretty decent that, both of those items are going to be available to them.
Ovok going to be going for a bomb jump here. Without the boots, it's a 2-pixel window. Being able to bonk off the wall, I believe, opens it up to either a 6 or 8-pixel window. I'm not sure off the top of my head here, but pulling off the jump nicely.
Yeah, and they've actually found the small key and the map on that floor, which means the second item of this dungeon is going to be in the basement past the tile room. And both runners being able to face off against Moldorm with the red sword usually makes things a whole lot easier. Oh, almost falling off, but hanging on, and takes down Moldorm. And we'll see what he gives them today. And a bottle of green goo, so our first bottle found today, and now the sick kid is available as an option back in Kakariko Village.
Also, that might open up a potential play for Withhelde to use that bottle glitch to explore the eastern half of Palace of Darkness when she goes there too.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting. I have not been able to see that trick perform, so I'm very curious about that one. It is being categorized as a minor glitch because there are other methods by which you can reach that side. Ovok completing the Tower of Hera and deciding that the basement, at least right now, is not worth it. So it'll be interesting to see if Withhelde ends up doing that, and if it ends up being another item. It's not the first time that he's skipped a location. He also didn't go to the dam, which has the fire rod. but it looks like he is heading straight for the Dark World and going to check out the Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town area, probably.
Withhelde having some problems with Troll Dorm. Troll Dorm's being particularly trolly right now.
And ovokjam finding another 50 bucks in the chess game. I think the chess game costs 30 bucks to play, so making a little bit of profit on that one. But Withhelde gets her revenge and takes down Moldorm very quickly the second time around. It's going to be very interesting to see if she ends up going to that basement and seeing what it ends up having. And I did not see what was in the bombable hut. Did you?
No, I just missed it myself. But Withhelde is going back into Tower of Hera to take a look at the basement, so we'll see if the gamble will pay off for Ovok or not.
And Ovok finding a little more love in the C-shaped house with a full heart container. At this point in the game, 7 hearts is not a lot of life to have, so that's a very nice find, definitely.
Ten arrows as the first item in Thieves Town here. Nothing too major yet.
Yeah, Thieves Town has 4 unique items. It's a really nice place to look for things that might be required. And the second chest just having a 3-bomb pack. We know one of the 4 chests on this first level is going to have the big key. We just don't know which one of the 2 remaining chests that's going to be.
I wonder if Ovok, with the gambles that he's been taking so far, will jump out after the first 4 chests here.
And it looks like at least the Tower of Hera gamble is going to pay off with the basement only having a piece of heart. And Withhelde heading back into Kakariko Village, and it looks like she's going to check the sick kid, which Ovok has not done yet. And then opting to save and quit, so it looks like she's not going to immediately go into the dark Kakariko area.
I wonder if she's going to take the teleport by the castle and make her way over to maybe Palace of Darkness or another.
Now she's definitely going for that teleport, but so we'll see where she goes from here. And good call. Looks like she's heading directly for Pod, which means she's going to be able to use, or get her Titan's mitts. And we'll see if you're right about her using that bottle glitch to hit the right side.
I'd be excited to see that glitch come into play. I haven't seen it in some of the tourney matches I've watched so far, so I'd be personally excited to see it happen.
And Ovok being forced to skip the big chest because he does not yet have the hammer. However, he's gonna go fight blind. I did not notice whether we've gotten both the map and the compass yet for this dungeon. And okay, they
Yeah.
do have map and compass now with that check. So that means Blind has one item and the big chest has the other. And Blind with his oh so fun puns saying that he got his tires fixed for a flat rate. So
I can appreciate this Kina Samaria strategy that Ovok is using, able to keep the distance between himself and Blind, slowing down the screen to be able to dodge a little more. And Withhelde jumping right out of Palace of Darkness as soon as she got her Titan's Mitts.
yeah, I think that's a good play. She may or may not be comfortable using the bottle glitch. And she knows she doesn't have the bow right now, even though I think it could be in some of the remaining chests, but deciding to probably focus on locations that she knows she can access in full right now. Meanwhile, Ovok looks like he's going to be checking out Sick Kid, and then most likely doing some of the other Dark World Village of Outcasts stuff. And on Withhelde's side, it looks like we're going to get our first look at the King's Tomb.
The hope shot.
Wow!
That opens up all of Eastern Death Mountain for her.
Absolutely, that is a really big find, and it is a fairly out of the way place. So it is one of those areas that it might be a while before Ovok checks, especially since he's already checked the Sanctuary Bonk Rocks.
It looks like Withhelde's going to make her way into the Thieves Town area as well, unless she's going to go up into Skull Woods, having the fire rod.
Yeah,
and never mind to that.
Yeah, Skullwoods is one of the locations that, at least in some of the past Logic versions, has tended to be really good in terms of having at least one important item. However, with this version 29, the randomizer seems to be even more randomized, where heading into dungeons isn't necessarily always the best play.
You just don't know, and since you don't need anything to just drop into Skull Woods, those chests that are there are open for the grabbing, at least in the front two sections, and Ovok finding that the digging game guide doesn't like anything to follow you for any reason at that game.
Yep, so Ovok's going to have to wait on that, but still able to check plenty of other locations. And I wonder, since he's doing the quest with the purple chest, if he's going to also take a stab at the dam while he's in the area. Finding the flute in the cave south of Haunted Grove. So yet another item that's going to be absolutely necessary, and that gives them immediate access to the Misery Mire area, with both of them having the Titan's Mitts. And Stumpy just giving them 20 bucks today, so still this has been a fairly good route. And now Ovok heading back up to Kakariko. Looks like he's going to activate that flute while he's still fairly close to the village.
That's interesting, because he'll have to come back later in the Dark World to get over to Hype Cave without having a hammer yet.
Yeah, if he activates that flute and then immediately takes it to and takes the purple chest to its owner. I wonder if he's going to, skip some of the other items in that area, such as the dam and the hype cave, which, hype cave sometimes lives up to its name and sometimes it goes by another name. And Ovok's still not going into that dam. And finding just 3 bombs and giving the thief a little bit of aggravation in his swings. And then heading right into the Misery Mire area. So we're going to get our first check of what medallion is required for this crystal dungeon. And it looks like it's Quake. And they have not found that yet. So Ari, let's say you're in Ovok's shoes right now. Where would you go next?
I would go into Desert Palace knowing that that's a crystal. Clear that out. Grab the crystal for that. And see where I end up after that. Hoping I potentially pick up the Quake medallion or something that... Oh, there's the hammer!
Wow, the hammer in Checkerboard Cave. So that opens up pretty much the entire world. Of course, Ovok does not yet have the hook shot, but now we've found yet another one of the very important items needed to complete this game.
We'll be getting a Genius Cave checked here, see what's hiding behind the wall. And just a little piece of love. So we'll see if Ovok decides to go with my recommendation of going into Desert Palace or chooses a different routing procedure there.
Well, it certainly makes sense. He's in the area. Desert Palace is definitely one of the fastest dungeons to complete.
That, or I could see Ovok going up to Death Mountain to get that eastern side down as well.
Nope, definitely looks like he's heading into Desert Palace, which I think is a good play. It is a crystal. There are 2 unique items, so certainly the potential for finding something important there. And getting his 9th heart container on the ledge, so finally getting up to what is a pretty healthy amount of hearts. That combined with the red mail makes this a pretty healthy seed now.
Withhelde's going to be going to the digging game here, and she doesn't have the buddy purple chest with her, so she'll be able to complete the digging game. So we'll see what item is there.
So the digging game, for those of you who aren't as familiar with Randomizer, is kind of different from the vanilla game. When you generate your seed, it picks a random number between 1 and 30, and that dig number, regardless of where it is going to be your item. And this time, it was just a 10 arrow refill. Meanwhile, Ovok picking up Fisher Price, My First Shield in Desert Palace.
Withhelde going back to take care of the frog buddy there. And just the compass over on Ovok's side.
Yeah, so we still have one of the unique items. It's either going to be in the big chest or it's going to reside with Landmullas. And finding the Book of Medora. So we just added a couple more locations that we can check, that being the Bombos and Ether tablets.
So at this point, Ovok's just going to be going through just to finish up the dungeon, having both unique items, and grab the second crystal of the match there.
Now since Ovok did find that hammer in the checkerboard cave, he is now able to do Ice Palace, which may or may not require the hook shot by the logic, depending on the locations of keys and doing the bomb jump, which most players are able to do without much difficulty now.
Unfortunately, Ovok hasn't picked up the fire rod yet, and doesn't have Bombo, so I don't think he can go in there quite yet.
Okay, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, he could go into that first room, but he wouldn't be able to progress any further, thanks to those freezors guarding the door.
But Withhelde, on the other hand, can make her way into Ice Palace if she so desires.
And Ovok taking out the landmollas and getting his second crystal. Or rather third, I believe. Yeah, third crystal.
Now, with the item selection that Ovok has, personally, I'd be making my way up to Death Mountain to start clearing out some of those extra chests. Where would you go?
I absolutely agree with you. Lots of chests available, plus just finding the book that gives the ether tablet, so that's yet another item. The only thing he doesn't have is the the hook shot, which I believe was in the King's Tomb, and that means that he won't be able to go across the fast way. However, with the hammer, he'll be able to do that. And in Dark Death Mountain, he won't be able to check all of Hookshot Cave, whereas Withhelde will be able to. So very interesting routing decisions have led to where we know where almost every item is, but the runners do have a little bit of difference due to their routing choices.
It'll be interesting to see if Ovok decides to go do the north side of the Dark Death World, or of the Dark World now, or dive into the Skull Woods.
Yeah, looks like we're probably going to get a check of Bumper Cave, and I'm guessing he's probably going to check the Graveyard Ledge Cave at the same time, since he does have the mirror. And it looks like Cape not required this seed, just finding a piece of heart on the ledge.
Withhelde returning to Death Mountain here, probably be making her way to the eastern side to start checking those chests over there. Meanwhile, Ovok shortly should have the hook shot, mirroring back into the light world for King's Tomb, and just finding 3 bombs on the Graveyard Cliff.
And Withhelde escapes into the old man's cave after being trolled by everyone's favorite enemy in this game, and heading directly over to that east side. And it's going to be quite a few items. I believe it's going to be 8 in the light world, plus another 3 that are going to be, actually no, 6 that will be available in the dark world.
And then we'll see if there will be a quick medallion check of Turtle Rock as well. That could be potentially done as well.
Right, we know that Misery Mire is a crystal and it does require the Quake. But we do not know yet what Turtle Rock requires. And both of these players probably hoping that they don't have to find out. Meanwhile, Withhelde finding in the first 2 chests just 50 rupees and another heart container. And the second Moldorm Cave having, so far, just money. 2 more chests left. And finding the silver arrows in the final one, so that just made Ganon a heck of a lot easier. Meanwhile, Ovok going through what I'm going to call tonight the Cave of Disappointment.
But that swag net.
Okay, so how about the Cavern of Mediocrity then?
I'm good with that. Being that the only thing we can do with the swag net is bounce back some Agate 2 balls. We'll catch a fairy if we wish.
Catching fairies isn't a bad thing. It's never bad to have at least some kind of safety. Meanwhile, Ovok is going to be very happy when he discovers the item that he's been missing for a while.
Now, it looks like Ovok is diving into Swamp Palace here. There are 6 unique items in here, but with it being a green pendant, it can pay out if there's a key item in here, or it could be a time sink.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course it does lead to a 7th item, because being the green pendant, it will lead to whatever Shish Kebab is holding on to this seed. And Withhelde checking and finding 300 rupees on the floating island in Death Mountain. Heading into Hookshot Cave, but I don't think she checked what was the medallion for Turtle Rock.
Not yet. Maybe we'll see it afterwards.
And Hookshot Cave not having much of anything, just a bottle of green goo.
At this point, we're just keeping our eyes out for where that bow is and where Quake is.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all fine items for Go mode, right?
I believe so, unless a nasty trick is played onto us.
Absolutely. Withhelde is still missing the hammer, although she's checking out the Misery Mire area right now, so I'm guessing she's going to head into Checkerboard Cave before too long. And I haven't seen any items so far on Ovok's side. And of course, with hammer, hookshot, and fire rod, this would have been a good time to go into Ice Palace. So I'm guessing it won't be too long before going in there. However, Ice Palace is one of those really difficult dungeons to really route well, and it's one of those where if you can do it in Go mode, it saves a substantial amount of time.
Withhelde now will be picking up her hammer, unlocking a lot of areas for her. We'll see if she dives into Desert Palace while she is here, though.
Yeah, it looks like that's where she's going exactly. And it makes sense. It's a crystal dungeon. It can be full cleared. Doesn't take very long. Just get it out of the way and move on with your game. of course, since she did this after completing the rather large Death Mountain play, it may be a while before she decides to follow that book up there. I also didn't notice, did she do Spiral Cave?
I don't think she did. I think she skipped right past it right after checking Hookshot Cave.
Okay, so that's another one of those locations you definitely have to keep in the back of your mind. It doesn't require a lot of things to get there, so it definitely is one of those locations that could have something very important. Meanwhile, Ovok is still going through the Swamp Palace, a very long dungeon, considering it's only the second dungeon you normally do in the Dark World. Just a lot of rooms and a lot of items to check.
It's one of those places where you gotta keep thinking, are you gonna go left side or not? It all depends on whether or not you get a map or compass early enough to potentially free up one of those chests to have an item or not.
And so far, I don't think he's found anything of use. He does find the Cane of Burna and now the Big Key, so he'll have to possibly route that in. I think he just did an item check to see where he was in terms of the map and the compass. And meanwhile, Withhelde taking a death, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, and I don't think it was.
Olak will be facing Argus and hoping for the item to be on there, because I believe there's still a map or compass out there. So if it's not on Argus, then Olak should be good to go.
Exactly, because that would mean that the big chest just has a useless item and they don't have to come back in to check that.
This is also one of the few dungeons where the big key can be locked behind the big chest itself, because it does nothing else but open up the big chest in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, I believe it's one of just 3 dungeons where the big key can actually be completely optional. And Ovok taking down Argus, and I didn't see what the item was, but picks up that green pennant, so now he has another fetch quest item.
It was 20 rupees, a big 20.
So unless Shish Kebab has something really, really important, it looks like Swamp was a complete waste of time today.
It looks like we're gonna have to wait a little bit to find out if it was worth the time or not. Ovok's gonna be clearing the... Wait, did he already clear the Eastern Death Mountain? I don't remember at this point.
No, I don't think so. I think just Withhelde did it. And Withhelde went through all of the eastern side of Death Mountain, but did not do the Spiral Cave. So it'll be interesting to see if Ovok chooses to route that in, and also if he chooses to see what medallion is required for Turtle Rock today.
Alright, and then we could also find out what's in the Ether Tablet as well.
And I really think that Turtle Rock check would be a good idea, because that gives you a piece of information potentially on what item could be left on the pedestal.
And if it's that Ether Tablet, they do have access into Turtle Rock at this point.
Now it looks like Withhelde going into the witch's hut to pick up some blue goo.
Well, it looks like Withhelde's going to be moving into Ice Palace. Good use for the blue goo.
And Ovok is choosing to go into Spiral Cave, so we will see in just a moment if this ends up being something worthy. And of course, having the Pegasus boots makes this cave a whole lot more enjoyable to go through. So Ice Palace can definitely have the bow. I think if it were me, I'd also be looking for half magic. Definitely not required to be a seed, but a really nice item if you like using that fire rod a lot.
As I'm going through Ice Palace, one of the things I really like to see up in this room that Withhelde's in right now is a small key, allowing you to skip past the bottom half and checking the eastern top real quick. Hopefully she'll get that, or a good item.
Or not, just finding the compass in the first chest. And I agree with you, definitely looking for that small key in that first chest, making a vast majority of this dungeon, or at least a good number of rooms, completely optional.
So, when you're searching for items in Ice Palace, do you do the Ice Palace bomb jump, or do you go through it normally, trying to clear through the items as fast as possible?
I actually do the Ice Palace bomb jump every single time, regardless of whether I need to, just because it's good practice, and it does save a little bit of time if you can get it on that first try. And it also happens to be the only bomb jump that I can do really consistently, so I enjoy the fact that I'm able to do that. Looks like we're finally going to get a check of Turtle Rock and what's going to be required on Ovok's side.
Ooh, it is the Ether Medallion, and he is opening it. Is he going to dive in?
I think at this point, it's pretty tempting to do that. You're still missing that bow. It can definitely be in Turtle Rock, and you're already up here. And there's quite a few chests that you can check fairly quickly without having to dive too deep. As a matter of fact, there's been quite a few times where that first chest that you typically get, which is on the lower left of that first, I don't even know how to describe the room, but the first room with the track, where Ovok's going right now, I have seen that be the bow quite a few times. This time, however, just having a small key, so it looks like he's going to continue his way through Turtle Rock, trying to find that bow. Meanwhile, Withhelde making her way through Ice Palace, checking out that east side, finding the big key, so that'll be a nice thing to be able to route in. And just a piece of heart, as I believe the first unique item in that dungeon. Ice Palace having 2 unique dungeons. Ovok showing a little bit of swag as he does a Cane of Burna dash for us.
I like that. I have not seen that before. I like that swag right there.
And Withhelde finding the Bombos medallion, we now know that that's not going to be required at any point in the game. However, with her going towards Cold Stare, it is actually a nice way to take out that first phase of Cold Stare in one go and save quite a bit of magic power, especially not having that half magic upgrade. And Ovok now in what I would say is probably my least favorite room in the entire game. These chain chomps do a massive amount of damage and are very random and unpredictable.
Withhelde making her way down to Cold Stare now, making good use of the big key, since she didn't perform the IPBJ, the Ice Palace Bomb Jump, and going to be using the Kena Samaria to her advantage of not having to do the intended go all the way down, hit the switch, and go all the ways back up to push a block.
Having a little bit of trouble. Oh, be careful. Okay, she's using a bottle to refill her heart. She was getting a little too low there. And the Freezer getting hit by the Kena Samaria block and actually nullifying it out. Alright, so Withhelde is ready to head down into Cold Stare.
Looks like Ovok found the bow and jumped out of T-Rock and is now able to clear both Eastern and Palace of Darkness with having the bow.
Yeah, that's going to be really nice. I believe there's one item left in Eastern and several left in Palace of Darkness, so we're still looking for that Quake. We're not in go mode just yet. Neither player has found it, so you know, this is one of those things where it still could be a while before we find out exactly where that Quake is and get into an actual go mode. Meanwhile, Cold Stare providing the map, kind of useless, especially since she's already been through the entire dungeon.
I like to think of it as a certificate at that point, a certificate of completion.
There you go, that works. So that dip in T-Rock definitely giving a advantage to Ovok. Now just one item away from go mode and able to complete 2 more dungeons. However, I think Ovok has checked most of the items in Palace of Darkness, and now we're gonna find just 5 rupees with Shish Kebab and getting a sword slash out of frustration. Meanwhile, it looks like Withhelde is going to actually make a jump into Skull Woods, and I wonder if we're going to get a pedestal check. And since Turtle Rock is a pendant, but it requires the ether to enter, the Quake Medallion can actually be on the pedestal, I believe.
Yeah, it can be. That would be the one thing to keep the dream alive.
Also, both of these players have picked up the shovel, which has not been checked yet. And even though both of these players have gone up to Death Mountain with the book, neither has checked the ether tablet for the item either.
So we still got a lot of overworld areas to check with a mix of the dungeons. We'll have a good idea of where everything is at, but each of the runners still have quite a few locations they can check.
And chat pointing out that this would be a good time for a pedestal check because she's already in the area, being in Skull Woods right now. Oh, and getting grabbed by the Wall Master and having to do that part all over again.
just for a bomb upgrade.
Yeah, it is worth noting that it is absolutely required, as chat points out, that Quake could have been deeper in Turtle Rock. So that is another one of those things where it was a little bit of a gamble to actually leave Turtle Rock right after getting that bow.
Yeah, and I wouldn't imagine Ovok returning so soon to Turtle Rock. It could end up in quite a searching mode for quite a while if it is back there.
Exactly, and I'm not sure why he's back in the Dark Maze unless he'd ever checked the big chest. And it turns out he doesn't have the big key yet, which means that room south of where you go down into the dark room with 2 doors probably has the big key, so he's going to have to traverse the Dark Maze again in order to get that item. And let's get some pedestal hype on Withhelde's side. We're finally getting a pedestal check, and we're going to see if those pendant dungeons are now required. Wear this to become invisible, so looks like the magic cape. Pedestal is not required this time around. I think one of the least favorite seeds that I had one time was it was not an Agnum required seed. The Bumper Cave had one of the male upgrades, and then I did a pedestal check, and it said, perhaps it's time for a change of clothes, and I knew that I was going to be stuck.
Oh, ooh, half magic in the big key chest for, or the big chest in Palace of Darkness, so now Ovok will have that matter of convenience there.
Now, I believe he's checked every other item, which means I think the compass has not been found, so that's what the Helmosaur King is going to end up having this time.
So with what we know, where is Quake? That is the question. Where is it?
Well, let's see here. We have not finished Eastern. Quake could be there. We know Quake is not in Ice Palace. It can't be in Misery Mire. It could be further on in Turtle Rock. And I'm sure there are a few locations left in the overworld. We have both of the Ether and Bombos tablets that are available. We also have not dug with the shovel. So those are definitely locations that should be checked probably pretty soon.
Ooh, it could also probably be in Thieves Town as well, because I believe they have one item left in there as well in the big chest.
Well, that's true. Both of them went through that without having the hammer, so that's something they're going to have to hopefully keep in mind. And chat also pointing out that Spike Cave is an option. With Ovok having the Cane and Burna, that is available in the logic.
Oh, that would have been interesting if Burna was locked in Ganon's tower and the cape was required to get it. That would be interesting. Ovok taking on the Helmosaur King, taking about 17 hammer strikes, or you can also hit it with bombs if you wish to get the mask off, and then you can either one-shot it with the silver arrows or sword slashing, or however you wish to take it down.
Absolutely. I usually go for the silver arrows because there's just something oddly satisfying about beating this boss, which, you know, for being the first palace in the Dark World when you first play the game in the vanilla, you know, he's not a super easy boss, and you know, taking him down with bombs, I think it only requires 6 bombs, but I think it's a lot more difficult to do than just biting the bullet and doing those hammer strikes.
It looks like Withheld might be making her way up to T-Rock now, and potentially the Ether Tablet. We know that the bow is in there, so that would open up the path for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Ovok, mirroring to the light world and heading into Eastern Palace, I believe has cleared everything out except for the Armos Knights. And this will end up being his 5th crystal, I believe, when he completes this, because he has not yet completed Ice Palace.
It'll be interesting if Withheld makes the full dive into Turtle Rock and find out what's all in there. That could be the game changer if Quake is back there.
And chat just pointing out that the Pyramid Fairy will become available because Eastern is the 2nd of the crystals with the 5-6 combo. The other one was Thieves Town, which both of these runners have already completed. Now we know that the bow ended up being in Turtle Rock. Do we know which chest it was in?
I wasn't quite paying attention, but I think it might be on the floating island.
Withheld getting shocked by the... I don't even know what those enemies are called. The jellyfish, the rubber jellyfish. Having to do that room all over again. And almost falling again, but this time making it through. And Ovok takes on the Armos Knights with the silver arrows. It is a pleasure to take these guys out. And just getting the burrito from Armos Knights. So we're still looking for that Quake.
I know at this point I'm starting to stress over, oh man, there's so many places that are so far apart. Where do I go? And how far behind am I? That's constantly running through my head in this type of situation here.
Absolutely, and something like a medallion, which can be almost anywhere in the game. You know, Withheld is going to find this bow in short order. It'll be interesting to see if she ends up saving and quitting out of here, or if she chooses to proceed on the off chance that we find a Quake medallion in here. And Ovok is heading to the dig spot and finding just 3 bombs.
Dang kids burying their explosives again.
Yeah, and he's venting his frustration as he waits for the duck to pick him up. Well, it looks like Ovok is about to make the swamp play. In terms of number of items, it's a good play. Unfortunately, we know it's not going to really help him out in terms of getting into go mode.
Oh no, Ovok's going to be making the pyramid play, having both red crystals. We'll see what's in Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, I think this is a really good play, following that logic again. Also, it'll be interesting to see if he checks Catfish, because we have not seen that yet. You know, it is possible, certainly, that the Catfish could have his usual item in the vanilla game, which is the Quake Medallion.
Oh, it looks like Withheld is also jumping out of T-Rock, so we're not going to know what's in the back half of T-Rock here, whether or not it holds the Quake. And she's probably going to be clearing off both Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness right now. So we'll just have to wait to find out where it is.
Now, meanwhile, Ovok checking the Pyramid Fairy and finding the Quake. Ovok is in go mode! So taking a look at the tracker, Ovok is in a great position right now. Only 2 crystals left. Ice Palace in go mode is a very quick palace, and just having Misery Mire, it's just looking for that big key, and then heading right to Vitreous. Vitreous should be really a non-issue thanks to those silver arrows.
I do have to say, Silver Arrows on Vitreous is also another one of those satisfying ones, just because of how brutal Vitreous can be.
Well, not only that, but in the vanilla game, it is absolutely impossible to ever be able to do that. So this is one of those things where Randomizer allows you to do something that you would not normally be able to do. Most of the other bosses you can actually beat with the silver arrows in the vanilla game, because you can get the hammer in pod and then shortly thereafter go and beat those other 2 palaces.
I know Ovok here is probably hoping the big key is not in the western side of Misery Mire, let alone with the cutscene there, because everyone just loves cutscenes where the screen just shakes instead of animating anything.
Yeah, I think that cutscene would be a little better if you could actually see that wall moving, but yeah, otherwise you're just kind of standing there waiting for it to be over. And Ovok finding the mushroom, not going to be worth anything, and I doubt we're going to even see what it was. And Withhelde finding her magic powder, that's another one of those items that I really like to be able to have, because you know, in some of these areas there's a lot of anti-fairies, and being able to turn them into a fairy for a heart refill is a really nice thing.
I am certainly with you on that. It's a very nice, convenient item to be able to relieve the stress when you're at 1 heart, and need a little pickup there. And speaking of cutscenes earlier, we're going to see the wonderful cutscene here on Ovok's side.
Yeah, Ovok about to check the vanilla big key chest. I do see the big key in that chest pretty often, so it'll be interesting to see if we find it there this time. And there it is, big key. He's going to be able to take a couple warps and go through a door and head right to Vitreous now.
You know, it's funny, in the vanilla game, you get the big key there, and it warps you to a big key door, so I guess it tricks you into going into the back half here without having the item yet. It's just an interesting thing I just thought of.
Yeah, in most dungeons you don't need the big key more than once. Although I believe Ganon's tower actually has 2. You need it once to get into the upper reaches of the tower, and the second time, I believe, to get into Agnum 2.
Yes, Withhelde will shortly be picking up her half magic out of the big chest here in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, both of these players doing very well. We're just now hitting the hour-and-a-half mark. These players are definitely on their way towards a sub 2-hour seed, which is, I typically feel that that's a pretty good benchmark of having a good seed and having a good player. And both of these players have performed very well tonight.
The satisfaction of silver arrows on Vitreous never gets old.
Now 1 for each eye and 2 for the big eye. I will say it is an interesting thing about bosses in this game. They really liked eyeballs a lot.
You're right, now that I think about it, I've never thought about it before. Wow.
Yeah, Moldorm has the big eyes that kind of swirl around when you hit him. You have Argus, Vitreous, and Cold Stare that are basically designed around being an eyeball. And Ovok finishing up Misery Mire, heading straight for Ice Palace. Do not pass go, do not collect 200 rupees, and about to get his 7th crystal.
It's such a benefit being able to go through Ice Palace in go mode. You don't have to stop for any of the side chests, and you can make it to the bottom fairly quickly in what, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Withhelde now having cleaned everything up in Palace of Darkness now, we'll be heading towards Helmasaur to clean that up, get the crystal there, and then probably clean up Eastern Palace as well.
Yeah, so these runners really aren't that far away from each other. Their routing was pretty similar. I can't really even point to a specific decision that really has separated them very much.
I think the only thing that could have had potential was the Fire Rod if it had a more prominent use in the run, but where it came into play in the run, it didn't make an impact.
I believe Withhelde did not, or did rather, go into Skull Woods, where Ovok did not.
Yeah, Ovok did not dive into Skull Woods at all, and it turns out that Skull Woods wasn't needed at all, other than to grant us that pedestal check.
Ovok about to head into Cold Stare as Withhelde is battling Helmasaur King. So I think for a few seconds here we're going to have synchronized bosses.
Yeah, even if it's just for a little bit of time with the Silver Arrows, just so nicely taking out Helmasaur King. Such a player.
Absolutely, and as Ovok prepares to finish off Ice Palace, just a reminder, people, these two great runners are putting in a lot of work for our benefit and our entertainment. If you like what you see, be sure to give them a follow on Twitch. they would love your support. And Ovok with 7th Crystals. For those of you who have been around a while, you might have heard about a little game that we like to play. We call it Guess the Ganon Tower Big Key. There are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower where the big key can be. The first person in chat who guesses the correct number wins. And I'm starting to see quite a stream of numbers. Make sure you get your guesses in, and we'll see where the Ganon's Tower Big Key ends up being. Ari, what do you think? Where do you think it's going to be this time around?
I'm going with number 14 today. What about you, Sco?
You know, I tend to break the rule, I guess, and instead of guessing a number, I always guess tile room.
Oh, all right. I see how it is. Tile room. That would be the most epic one.
Yeah, it's also the, no matter what, it does seem to be the one that the runners will check the very last. No one likes to see it in that tile room.
As Ovok makes his way up to let's try that again. As Ovok makes his way up to Ganon's Tower, Withhelde cleaning up Eastern Palace very quickly.
Yeah, yet another good example of the wonderful use of those silver arrows. And Ovok's heading into Ganon's Tower, and Withhelde, I believe, just has 1 crystal left, taking on Misery Mire right now.
We're going to get a glimpse at the first 2 chests here, and we've got a piece of heart and a small key.
And choosing not to continue on the right side, Ovok is heading to the left. That's typically the route I like to take. I don't like checking those right side locations unless I absolutely have to. Item number 3 is a 3-bomb pack, so it looks like Bob is going to live this time around.
Oh, Withhelde showing a little frustration there. She still needs to find Quake, and we know it's at the ferry. Hopefully she'll make her way up there soon. Butter sword.
Yeah. Chests 4, 5, 6, and 7, not yielding the big key, but finding butter. Not an item we find too often in Randomizer. It doesn't yield quite as big of a time savings as having the red sword versus the master sword, but still there's a few areas where you can now one-hit enemies that normally would take 2. And finding just a 5-bomb upgrade in the next chest. So as Ovok proceeds through Ganon's Tower, looks like Withhelde is going to be turning in that bomb and getting her Quake Medallion. So she's going to be really happy to find that. And we're entering the Firebar room, where we're going to get another chest, specifically chest number 9, and survey says, bottle with blue goo. Not a bad find. And we're heading into the so-called rando room because it's a room you only enter while you're in Randomizer. Alright, that's 13 item locations checked so far, and no big key.
And we'll see what Bob's chest holds. Just a compass.
So now I'd like to welcome everyone to this game's presentation of Armos on Ice, presented by Nintendo. Alright, 14 is 20 rupees, 15 is 20 rupees, and 16 is just the map. We're going right side.
Getting real close to that tile room.
Yeah, it's definitely that room where no one wants to see it, but it'll be interesting to see if Ovok decides to go ahead and check the tile room or still go right past it.
It looks like Ovok will be checking tile room. This is one of those rooms, if you had the cape, you could pull a little trick off where you grab a wall and your magic doesn't drain, allowing you to take a nice little break while just holding the buttons in place.
And tile room just giving a small key. I think I may have had the count wrong. I believe we're going into a room which has the final 4 chests, so that means it's going to be 19, 20, 21, and 22 in that room.
Number 19's just some rupees. 20 is a full piece of heart. The small key number 22 is going to be our big key.
Wow, the last possible chest. Checking back through chat, it looks like it's Wags NYC is our winner this time around. He was the first person to guess chest number 22. So congratulations, Wags NYC. You win the contents of the final chest, which we probably won't see. And Ovok trying to line up the red mimics is much as possible. This room can be very challenging if you don't have the mirror shield to protect yourself.
Ovok taking a lot of damage here. We'll need to cross the cannonball bridge. We'll see if Ovok picks up the fairies in the room below.
It looks like we're getting some more Burna swag. Always nice to see. Meanwhile, Withhelde almost at the end of Misery Mire and collecting her 7th crystal.
Ovok using up the blue goo, which is a smart move there. Better to have the full life than try to risk it to the little what should I call it? Not the anti-fairy, but the bunny portal.
Yeah, I think they call it a bunny beam. Well, and also by the time he used his blue bottle, he only had a half a heart left, which is dangerous in pretty much every room in Ganon's tower, so he didn't have much of a choice. Using that bottle was absolutely necessary.
Seeing some very good use of the fire rod, using it to quickly clear out the enemies without producing any additional lag like the silver arrows might.
Yeah, and Withhelde collecting her 7th crystal, time to head up to Ganon's tower. Unfortunately, I think at this point it's not very likely that she's going to catch up. Although if she happens to go to the full right side first, she can definitely gain some time versus having to clear that entire left side. And these are probably my favorite rooms in Ganon's tower. Using that Cane of Samaria to kill all those enemies at once, it just looks really neat. Still trying to figure out and be able to do the second room consistently though.
Yeah, it's just a neat area where the King of Samaria really shows its value as a weapon, just to quickly clear those rooms. It's something that casually you really don't think of too much.
Right, in the vanilla game, there's really only, by the logic, 1 and maybe 2 rooms if you count the ice balls, where it really comes into play besides Turtle Rock, but in terms of being a weapon, it is never required.
Alright, so coming up we'll have Troll Dorm 2. Hopefully Troll Dorm won't be too trolly to Ovok or Withhelde.
And no sooner did you say that, we have what we call the commentator's curse, as he gets knocked right off the platform as soon as he gets on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ovok.
And a second fall to Moldorm too. Trolldorm definitely living up to his name in this seed.
But as they say, third time's the charm.
Yep. So now we'll see if we see what's in that final chest of the game. And it's just 20 bucks. But hey, at least we know that our winner gets 20 rupees out of the chest this time around.
Yeah, but it looks like Withhelde chose to go left side, so we know that she will be either picking up the big key on the last set of 4 or number 22 if she does tile room first. And here we are at the Aghanim 2 fight. It's a nice test in your geometry skills. So if you paid attention in math class, you got to work on lining up those angles to reflect the shots back.
Oh, and Ovok almost getting a double, but Aghanim turning back into his shadow form a little bit too early. Ovok having a little bit of trouble, not getting the best setups for returning all the fireballs.
But Agatu is now down. Ovok does not have a lot of health left, and I don't know if there's any additional potions. I know he used up his blue goo already, but I don't remember any of the other bottles having anything that could restore life.
The good thing is, if he does choose to go get some bottles, he can do so very quickly. Because they did beat Aghanim, they do have that warp point a lot closer. But nope, he's diving directly into the Ganon fight. So here we go with the words of wisdom, and it looks like Ganon is in Chipotle mode, and Ovok taking an immediate death. I'm guessing that was just for a heart refill.
Not a bad thought, considering if you were to continue to attempt to fight and pretty much have anything hug you to death real quickly, it's better to take it right away.
And Ovok deciding that he doesn't want to deal with those fire bats. I don't blame him. With half magic, Kanan Burn is a good choice to avoid those, as long as he doesn't have too little magic power to light those torches in the fourth part of Ganon there.
I may be mistaken, but I also think he still might have a bottle of green goo, so he does have that on backup if he remembers his bottles.
And with the fourth Sword Slash, he enters into Phase 4 of Ganon. Ganon asking, did you find the arrows? Well, yes we did, thank you very much. And just one more arrow, and Ganon goes down. All Ovok has left to do is wait until the correct time and walk through the door. And GG to ovokjam with a time of right around 1:54 and about 22 seconds. And an excellent run, sub 2 hours, on a seed that was a little bit trolly, especially with that Quake medallion.
Absolutely. It was searching for that Quake medallion, and it looks like the speed racing TV time is in 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 21 seconds.
So as we're waiting for him to come into chat and join us for an interview, Withhelde making her way to the top of Ganon's tower. She's only going to be a few minutes behind, doing very, very well here. Actually, my correction, now she's going to be making her way to the top of Ganon's tower. Ovokjam, GG, well done.
GG.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, how about that Quake medallion, huh?
Oh my goodness. I was a little happy. Because I was like, alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open Pyramid Fairy, and it's going to be 5 rupees. And then I'm going to go up to Swamp Palace, and it's going to be nothing. Swamp Palace, I mean Skullwoods. And then it's going to wind up being on Laser Bridge and Turtle Rock. I knew it. And I was like, oh, guess not. Very fortunate.
Yeah, both of you exited out of Turtle Rock as soon as you got that bow, so that was definitely the right decision, even though there are quite a few more locations for items to be.
It was certainly a gamble.
And then, of course, the big key deciding to be in the very last possible chest, number 22, after everything else was done.
Yeah, even Tile Room. People would leave that for last. But oh well.
So we were kind of curious about one of your early moves, and we weren't sure if it was a gamble or an oversight. We noticed that you waited quite a while to check the dam area in the light world and ended up getting that fire rod a little bit later than Withhelde did.
Yeah, that was a gamble actually. I don't know. So I was talking with a friend of mine about whether or not you should always go dam first, and he's like, "Well, see if you can route it into Swamp Palace." So I was like, "Oh, I can route dam and Hype Cave and Swamp Palace all together at this time," and I did that, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, Swamp Palace pendant," and I wound up being there, and I'm like, "Well, there's the fire rod. Guess we might as well just do Swamp Palace," and it was nothing. So if I didn't do that, it would have been even better. It's all right.
Yeah, Swamp Palace was definitely a time sink. You're still won by quite a bit. Meanwhile, Withhelde leaving Ganon's Tower, I think it's because she ran out of arrows, which unfortunately are required to get through those 2 red mimic rooms.
Oh no. There's not really many good places to farm arrows.
So one of the things we have in this new version of Randomizer, version 29, is that we now have the additional thing of the uncle as the weapon stealer. How do you like that new feature? And how do you like having the Cane of Samaria as your first weapon, although you didn't have to wait too long to get a sword either?
Yeah, I like that feature. It's really neat to go through escape with different weapons, although there's always the dreaded bomb escape. I would put Cane of Samaria in a very close second to that. I don't think most people want to be stuck with that. So, second item being the sword helped. I didn't even touch the cane until I had to.
So as you were fighting your way through Ganon's Tower, how did you feel? Did you feel like you were behind, ahead?
I wasn't sure where I was. I mean, I'd been finishing not sub 2 for most of for both of my races so far, so I felt ahead of where I had been. But I don't know, I thought if Withhelde had not done Swamp Palace and had caught on to like I got lucky with Quake, but if Withhelde had also gotten lucky with that and not gone Swamp Palace and did everything else, I could have been really, really close, and I wasn't sure at all. So which is, I fumbled a bit coming out of the skeleton room and having a couple falls and hugging Ganon. That was fun. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we were wondering if that Ganon hug was actually intentional because it gave you that heart refill.
Sure, we'll say it was. It was not. I thought I had a sword slash hitting it, and I didn't, so I was a little closer than I meant to be.
Now, of course, one of the other good things is with a win tonight in the Swiss rounds, that brings your record to 1-2. Suar, you are still alive for heading into the brackets after the Swiss rounds are over.
Yes. All I have to do is pull it off. What? 4 more times. that right?
Yeah, 4 more times. Swiss is a total of 7 weeks, and then of course going into the brackets for another 7 weeks. So this is, you know, a lot of players in this tournament and a long road ahead still.
Definitely a long road, but I'll keep going. See how far I can get.
Now, I will say one of the nice things about this seed was you didn't get a lot of hearts really early, but you got a pretty early red mail. So in terms of armor, you're pretty well off. And of course, finding I believe the Master Sword was in Kakariko Village somewhere. If I remember, it was Blind's Hut. So how quickly did you think this one might turn into an Agnum seed?
I got Master Sword coming out of Escape. It was in the back half of Escape, and that was... I didn't even think about it until I went into Lumberjack and saw the mitts there. I was like, oh. At least I checked. And that's why I've always been checking.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that could have lasted longer depending on how long it took to get those Pegasus boots. There was some definite route divergence, and you guys both checked pod at very different times. As I recall, one of you ended up getting the glove in pod first, and the other one was actually, and then one, you know, you got the other one in Lumberjack Cave. I can't remember which yours was.
I had gone to pod directly out of Agony. I don't even know why. I was just like, I'm in the Dark World. I can go to pod. All I got was the gloves, and I was surprised I even got that. And then it was just a matter of going back to Lumberjack on the way up to Death Mountain.
And it does seem like Turtle Rock, more often than not, is starting to have some key item somewhere in it, even if it's a pendant dungeon.
Yeah, in the daily or nightly races before the tournament started, that came up a lot. One of the key pieces of advice I heard from that was just go Turtle Rock as soon as you can.
Well, I mentioned earlier in the stream, you know, one of the big things in version 26 is that item placement tended to be very dungeon heavy. And I know one of the rules that I was always told, if in doubt about what to do next, go to Skull Woods, because it seemed like it always had something of value. With version 29, that seems to have changed a little bit. It seems to be a lot more balanced of overworld versus dungeons.
Yeah, it does seem to be more balanced, which I think means that places with more chests are just more likely to have items. So that puts Pod, Swamp Palace, and Turtle Rock, which has 5, 6 if you count Mimic.
Now I'm kind of curious. Obviously, you got that bow in Turtle Rock. Was there a part of you that thought, I wonder if I should continue just in case that Quake is in here as well?
Absolutely, yes. That's why I hesitated on the save and quit. I was like, Because isn't it always in the very last place you look? No.
Yeah, and having to double dip a pendant Turtle Rock is definitely never fun. However, this time the Pyramid Fairy ended up having it. Withhelde, it looks like she is out of small keys, so we're hoping and not finding one. So I think she's going to have to go back downstairs to get another small key, unfortunately.
Oh man, that'd be another climb up through the gauntlet for her. And where would that leave the small key? We've got, I know tile room is a key, thanks to you, Ovok. And then just the one after that final room where the big key is in, right?
Yeah, because after you get those 4 chests in the room where the big key was, don't you go from left to right, and I think there's a small key under a skull or something like that.
Yeah, and I guess there could be something in the big key chest. I don't know if there's another key or not there.
Well, that's true. That's one of the chests that never gets checked during Rando, is that big chest in Ganon's Tower. And it looks like she is remembering what she hasn't checked so far, so she's going to be heading back to get that small key, hopefully. And Withhelde just not having a good time, being totally trolled by Ganon's Tower.
I have to admire Withhelde's persistence just to keep going at this point. Determined to beat the seed.
Well, it's definitely one of those things where you've already invested about 2 hours. You're not that far away. You know, she probably knows where she needs to go. Seeing it through, no matter what, is probably something she definitely wants.
But now she's going for tile room, and we know she's going to get a key out of that, at least.
That's good. And oh, getting hit by a tile and taking another death. So I'm trying to figure out what that character is that she's playing as. I noticed that the bunny sprite is the mushroom. I couldn't really tell what the death sprite was.
Looking through the sprite list here, it looks like Withhelde pick Marisa Kurasame. Not familiar where that sprite is from, though.
Looks like she's one of the main characters in a game series out of Japan called the Toho Project. And her character is a musician who specializes in light and heat magic. And Withhelde finally getting her small key, and it looks like she's gonna pick up another one just to be safe. And now she's gonna be able to finish her trek up Ganon's tower and take care of Ganon.
Fortunately, she does have plenty of arrows to make it through these first 3 rooms.
So as we're watching her go through the gauntlet again, Ovok rather, can you recall any seeds that have been really trolly on you, and kind of what were the highlights of that?
I think I may have like struck my memory of those types of seeds. There was one a while back where it was just, oh man, what was it? It was like, I mean, first of all, anytime lamp is in Turtle Rock big chest, I've had the lamp in there more than once, and that's way more than enough. Just means you got to do your dark rooms, but I had one where there was like the ice rod was in Ice Palace, but the fire rod was in Turtle Rock, and you never want that. Any situation like that where the 2 items that you need to complete a dungeon are in opposite dungeons.
Yeah, that's definitely never fun. I mean, Turtle Rock does have a tendency to have now at least 1 item. I know in my own personal play, I personally played through about 50 to 60 seeds, and I'd say it's been at least 8 or 9 times where the bow has been in Turtle Rock, and more often than not with those times, it's been in that very first chest in the lower left of that first track room.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it there before. That's also never a place for it. I think it's worse than the fire rod is there, because that's a huge gamble to take.
Yeah, you're only gambling on one spot, and hoping it's not there.
Yeah, there's other things like that. Oh, in my last tournament match, the hook shot was in the last chest, Swamp Palace. That was fun.
I know the last seed that I ran, that the bow was actually in Turtle Rock as well, but it was in Ching Chomp Room.
Ooh, that's almost always a key, too.
And I still say that is, if not the worst room in the game, it would definitely be in the top 3.
I had trouble with it tonight.
Now, Eri, we have Withhelde going back up the gauntlet and about to go into the Lanmo 2 fight. Does she have any potion bottles that you know of?
I know she went shopping, but I don't know what's left. I imagine there might be still a green potion, but I don't know if there's any blue left. I don't think we'll find out unless she has to use a potion for some reason. It was a very nice run through the second room there. Getting 3 is nice. Getting all 4 in the one swipe is pretty tough. But I always shoot for getting 3 and cleaning up the rest afterwards.
Yeah, I think I've only done the one cycle once, but gosh, it feels good when you do it. Alright, Withhelde almost there. She has almost full hearts, plenty of magic. She is in good shape. She's got 2 small keys. About to head over to Agnem. Chat, she won't be able to read what you're saying, but why don't you send some love her way? Let's, you know, she's done a great job and she hasn't given up, and she's going to complete this seed.
Here we are at Troll Dorm 2, and that's all I'm saying.
But you know what? 2 spin slashes and Troll Dorm falls. She gets her revenge. And her payout of 20 bucks, and proceeds on to Agnem 2.
And it looks like these Aghanim 2 ghosts are not lining up in the most ideal positions.
Now she's either gotten 3 or 4 so far, and she should be only now 1 or 2 away from. Oh, and gets a double to finish off Aghanim number 2. Very, very nice job, and she is now ready to fight off the blue pig.
And there's the extra blue potion.
I am so glad that she had that. She should be good now for the rest of the match. She has the golden sword. Ganon phase number 2 is done. Trolling her a little bit with the warps, and but soon she's going to be doing number 3 and finishing off this seed. And with a force swipe, into phase number 4. She has the silver arrows, so she's all set. And missing arrow number 2.
Trying to set up that double. Coming close.
And that's it. 4 arrows. Ganon is down. Finally, Withhelde also doing an absolutely stunning job. We'll try to get her into chat. And as she walks through the door, it's GG's to Withhelde as she provides a few extra swipes to let us know how frustrated she was. And we'll just wait a couple minutes while we try to get Withhelde into chat for a quick post-race interview.
Hello, hello?
Well, GG, Withhelde. I have absolute admiration for your persistence on this seed, especially with that Ganon's Tower fight.
That Ganon's Tower was like the most... That was like a pure comedy run. That was like a comedy of errors. And I can't believe all that happened in Ganon's Tower. And I didn't know how to deal with it. That was just... I was pretty livid. But I was laughing at the same time. But I was... Oh. That was probably the most stressful Ganon's Tower I've ever had.
Yeah, it was definitely really tough. And of course, looks like the go mode item this time was Quake. At what point did you feel like you might be running behind?
Honestly, I felt like I was in a pretty good position until I got the Ganon's Tower. Like, I gambled on Turtle Rock pretty early, and I found the bow. And I was like, oh man, I can do this. And then I started doing some other stuff. I know I did like a lot of overworld checks, but I was hoping that the Turtle Rock early gamble would have like at least given me some extra time. And when I did Pyramid Fairy and found Quake, it was like, okay, I'm probably on par with my opponent at this point. Let's just go through the game and see what happens. Then, like, after I finished up left side, I saw the message that my opponent finished. Is like, oh nuts. The excitement is over.
Well, the excitement may have been over, but you know, it was still a really solid run, even if the ending was a little rough. I would say, you know, going into the final, or as he went into the final fight, you were only maybe 5 or 6 minutes behind. And it was just those unfortunate problems in Ganon's Tower that cost you that additional time. Not to mention the fact that the big key was very well hidden. It was actually the 22nd location that Ovok ended up checking.
I had a feeling, it's like when I went into it, it's like, I got the key, I should probably do the right side, but it's like, I don't like doing that room, so it's like, okay, I'll do the left side. And it's like, maybe if I'd done the right side, it could have been a somewhat close race, but alas.
So another question that I like to ask is, with this new version 29 logic, the uncle has gone from being kind of just a random person who gets caught at the very beginning to being a prominent weapons dealer in the game. How do you like that new feature, and how did you like getting that Cane of Samaria?
Honestly, I really like the just the random weapon you get at the start. It kind of assures that you're always going to have like some sort of sense of progress to it. And even if you get something bad, like say the fire rod or something, it's still something you can use to like, you know, beat up enemies, to do your standard checks. It assures that the early game is kind of standardized. And in some ways that's kind of good. I mean, that may take a little bit of the thrill out of it, but overall, I like the random weapon uncle. And Cane is not really bad to get, honestly. Like, I kind of like getting Cane, but then I got the sword, and it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to start out with the Cane and you know, immediately get the sword, where, you know, the Cane kind of became once again relegated to its role of making blocks every once in a while, and that's about it. But still, I mean, and in terms of finding the sword, it's about as early as you possibly can, and definitely nicer than, you know, being an hour in before finding the first sword, and then, you know, finding the Master Sword so early. We figured out pretty quickly that there was a good chance that it was going to be an Agnum seed, and sure enough, it was with that lift upgrade.
Yep. I was, when I got the Master Sword early, it's like, oh no, please don't this be Aghanim. Then I checked the Lumberjacks, and it's like, well, the thoughts kind of went through my head, is like, wouldn't it be possible that maybe the Titans upgrade would not be required by some, like, magical means? But it's like, that would have to be, like, an extremely rare situation. But, I don't know. It's like, I didn't want to do Aghanim, but I knew I had to do Aghanim, so it's like, let's get this over with.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those places where you know it's going to add a few minutes to your run, whether you like it or not, so might as well just get it out of the way and be done with it and move on with the race.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're getting close to the end of the credits, I'd like to put a question out to both Ovok and Withhelde. Are there any final thoughts that you have about the seed and about Randomizer in general, to either of you?
In all honesty, the seed wasn't half bad. Like, we got swords pretty early. We got, like, there's nothing too trolly about the seed. Like, the seed itself was pretty, like, not too bad. And Randomizer, and it's like, Randomizer is a pretty cool thing. It's like, it revitalized this game, and it's like a lot, like, this game was never dead, but now there's like a ton more people now interested into this game and just kind of experiencing Link to the Past. Some are even experiencing Link to the Past for the first time, and it's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with something that, you know, gives more life to a community.
Yeah, first of all, GG Withhelde.
Yeah, GG.
And so, yeah, as far as the seed, it was actually a really nice seed. I mean, having very few items were that trolly. A couple of them were, but really having so many upgrades early just helped so much that it really kind of went pretty well as far as that goes. It's always nice to have red mail butter sword going up Ganon's tower if you want. As far as Randomizer goes, I mean, when I saw the first match, I think a lot of people probably saw the match at AGDQ like I did, and I kind of looked at it and said, this is a thing? This is a thing that exists? I must play it. And so actually, that's what I did. I just downloaded it, had the stream going at like 3 a.m. playing Randomizer. I think my first race I got like 3.5 hours, and I got a 209 locations check. Just building from there.
Yeah.
It's been super fun. I love it. I love it a lot, even when I don't love it.
Yeah, my friend and I have always been like admirers of Randomizer. Like we watched like, you know, the tournament like last year, and it's like we've always like watching from afar. And it's like one day we just like, hey, let's do one for ourselves, and it took like 7 hours to get through it. We were just like slogging through the entire thing and just relearning how to play Link to the Past, basically. And it's like from there, it's like we did a couple fun races, and like the spring tournament came up, and it's like, hey, let's join this, why not? And it's like my friend has been going ham on it, and I've been getting my practice in as well. But just a lot of good players out there. It's like, as fun as Randomizer will be, there's some good people out there. Some people who take Randomizer to heart.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. But once again, ovokjam and Withhelde, thank you for entertaining us tonight. It was a great race. Everyone that's still watching the stream, be sure to give them some love. Go to their Twitch streams and give them a follow. They worked really hard tonight, and they deserve your attention. Also, thanks very much to my co-commentator, Arafram, to Sage Figaro for tracking, and the Fizz for being our restreamer. And of course, if you're interested in more information about how this works and might want to start generating a seed for yourself, the website for that is vt.alttp.run. And you can learn all about it. You can join our Discord and learn about the game. Also, make sure you give a follow to the various Twitch streams that are going to be covering the ALTTP randomizer streams 1 through 4, and speed gaming, I believe 1 through 8 now. So from everyone on the team today, everyone have a wonderful night. GG once more to Ovok and Withhelde, and have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Yep, have a good night, everybody.
GG. Thank you all for commenting, restreaming, tracking.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for doing all this.
Thank you both for an awesome run, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you for being awesome.